Hello everybody and welcome to another one of our leadership training videos. In these videos, as you will know by now, I hope, I share insights and thoughts through my own experience that can help you grow in your leadership skill, knowledge and ability. Now the one that we are going to talk about today, and I want to illustrate through a story, is this particular one. Hopefully you recognize this particular building. It is well known now, iconic, been represented throughout the UK, but also more importantly in the James Bond movies. And this was given to me by my colleagues because I worked on this project and was able to complete the external facade of the building in such an exciting and successful manner. There was also a book that was written on the Vauxhall Cross, because that's how we knew it. We knew it as the Vauxhall Cross Development Project. So what I want to share with you today is, through that experience, there's one particular aspect of many. It was a 2.5, 3-year project from start to finish, intense. Took me to parts of my being that I had to work through, and that's what I want to talk to you about. So how did the Vauxhall Cross project become the MI6 building? And how did all that become part of the James Bond saga? Well, that's a question that will remain unanswered because I don't have the answers to those questions. But what I can share with you is one particular element that for me was the driver through which this project saw the light of day. My name is Chris Igwe. I have over 35 years experience leading, training and developing teams across Europe, Middle East and Africa. What I've learned, I've put through these training videos to help you to understand, not in any theoretical way, but in a very practical sense, some of the key elements of leadership, what the traits are, how to become a more effective leader, how to work across cultures and boundaries. All these things are laid out here in as complete and comprehensive a manner as I could possibly do it. So I hope that through watching, listening and following these series of videos, you will like, share, comment, and of course subscribe to the channel so that you're more familiar with some of the other videos that I have been sharing. So let me just start off very quickly with the story itself. How did I get to be involved in this project? Well, for those of you who are not familiar, I started out my career as a civil engineer. For the first 10 years, I worked on some major international projects that won awards of their own nature and were very, for me anyway, wonderful moments to build my foundational elements of management and leadership skills through the years. Now, being a civil engineer and working on a construction site, I was living in Strasbourg at the time. Strasbourg in the east part of France, working away on a joint venture project between the Swedes, French and the British. Not the happiest of groups to work on a project. It was very interesting, very intense as well. And I got a call from someone and it went like this. Hello, Mr. Igwe, my name is Ferdinand Kohler. You don't know me, but I know you. You were very tough with my team on Stansted Airport project. I would like to offer you a job. Like that. The company is a Swiss company based in Basel. So very direct, very clear. And I was shocked and surprised and I said, oh yes, Mr. Kohler, well, thank you for calling, really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I'm not open to a position right now. I've just started this project, but can you call me back in 6 months' time? He said, fine, put the phone down. 6 months later, to the day, he called me back and he said, Mr. Igwe, are you ready? As it turned out, I was. I said yes, although I'd forgotten completely about the phone call and that he might call me back because I was working on one of the most complex parts of that particular project, which was a big deal for me because the manager, the construction manager on the site, he and I didn't really get on very well. So we had our challenges, but he selected me and said, you can do it. So I appreciated that. So when Mr. Kohler phoned me back and I said I was ready, he said, tomorrow night, let's have dinner. He drove all the way from Basel, came up, had dinner with me. We had a fantastic 3-hour conversation, and he offered me the position. He offered me the position of senior project manager on that particular project, which was the Vauxhall Cross development project, Vauxhall Cross as we knew it. Now, I was honored, flattered, but then I realized that's where the work begins. Once you've accepted and you're into that commitment, you're then into pressure. Absolute full-on pressure. Because that company, whose name is Schmidlin AG, was probably or arguably the best curtain walling cladding company in Europe at the time. So I had pressure. What did the pressure engage? Well, to perform. Any of us who are thrust into a company or into a project that needs to succeed, performance is key. That is the measure. When the chairman of a company seeks you out, and it may not be a chairman, it could be any other circumstance you're living in. Maybe you have to go to another market, another country, develop it, grow it, build a team. You have to perform and you have to succeed. But with it came the need to fully understand. Remember that although I was in the construction industry, I was a civil engineer, this was an area of the industry that was very niche, very specific. I needed to understand processes, systems, from design to completion, because that's what we did. We were designing, manufacturing, and installing, very simply put. I had to find a way to be accepted. Those of us like me who've lived our careers being headhunted, which is a privilege, when you are brought into a company or into a team or into a business, you have to find a way to be accepted. And then you have to put all your effort into that leadership skill and say, how can I lead effectively and efficiently? Because time was not on our side. I was brought in because the project wasn't going the way they intended it. And the individual who had my position before was moved into another part of the company. So what were the main challenges? And again, I'm sharing these with you because you need to look at what your challenges are as a leader, whether it's existing already in your team or where you're going into a new era, a new team, a new business. The first for me was I inherited a team. Very often when you're brought in from the outside, you have a team that is already in place. You have to understand the dynamics of the team. You have to understand what the pinch points are, what they are looking for to achieve and do, understanding what motivates them. As it turned out, I had a chief designer. She was amazing. She was fantastically brilliant at what she did. But she and I had a troubled relationship through the project, and we had to find a happy medium of mutual respect. We were never going to be bosom buddies and pals for life. But during the time that we had that project, which we had to bring together successfully, we had to find a way to achieve a level of respect that was important to both of us to allow us to work. The challenge was the program. We were behind schedule, we were over budget, and there was a long way to go. So when you've got a program that you then have to look, how do you revise it? How do you change it? Who are the key people? Because one of the bottlenecks was going to be the production facility. Because the production facility was not just for our company or that project, it was for the entire business. So how would I get people on side to make sure that I could manage the revised program I was developing? And I had to renegotiate many existing contracts nationally and internationally. So having shared that with you, the core element being pressure, and managing and dealing with that pressure on a constant and permanent basis. The way in which I succeeded, so the key takeaways were, I used all the techniques of management and leadership that I had acquired up to that date. I had to go through that whole panel, that whole range of experiences to ensure that I used the right ones at the right time. I spent a lot of time in one-to-one meetings. So whether it was my chief designer, right the way through to somebody who was, more the drawing side, if you like, so put the whole thing together, or the production team. Some of the production managers had been there for literally 30 or 40 years. There was nothing that I could teach them, but I had to understand what their problems were and how we could work together to come out successfully. So whether it's in the team or outside the team. I also had to communicate my vision. If I've come in, guys, you may not like me, but we need to figure this out together and we need to find a path through it all. And that vision had to then be communicated not only to the CEO and eventually the chairman who'd hired me into the business, but also into the team. So it had to go both ways, that vision of how we do it, because otherwise they weren't going to implement the strategy that supported the vision to get to where we needed to be. So these two were really, really important. But empathy was important as well. I had to understand what, during the one-to-ones, their needs and expectations were, and to be tolerant of those. So with my chief designer, for example, I knew that it wasn't specifically personal, but A, I came from outside the business, and B, the person I replaced was someone she got on really well with. So I had to understand that and accept it. Some of the other things that I found really important, and I think as a leader, this is really critical. You need to own the problems, not just the problem, but the problems. In other words, as you go further, there will always be things that you uncover. Those are yours to own and deal with. Then, and I've talked about this before, it's so important to celebrate the wins. So as you're going through all these challenges and issues, you say, okay, where have we been successful? Where did we get that drawing done on time? Where was it that the testing facility that we did worked out really well? It wasn't going to change a lot, but it was important that we knew that everything we'd built up to get to that point was successful. I talked about this in a previous leadership training video. You need to put in the hours. You need to work really hard. I put in very long hours, very long days. Keep everybody regularly informed. And I don't mean just in your team. I had to make sure that I was connected with the architects outside the company, the client outside the company, the subcontractors that I was renegotiating with or having to work with. But everybody had to be regularly informed of all that was going on so that they could support you, because that's what you need at the end of the day, support. And then don't forget to say thank you. It's so easily forgotten. People working really, really hard to move this forward, to get it going, changing maybe some of the habits they were used to, working with a new boss, whatever it is, just say thank you. And it's amazing how that thank you will transform the thought process, and people will be coming up to you with solutions. They're saying, this is somebody I can work with. This is somebody who understands what I'm doing. So hopefully the idea of pressure that you might be working under, or pressure you need to work under as a leadership person, you'll understand that it is there to transform you. It is there for you to use it to transform the team, to learn, to grow, and to develop. I hope that some of what I've shared here resonates with you, that you can find a way to integrate that into your own leadership. And like I said, whether you're a leader or you're experiencing the opportunity to become a leader, or you're an entrepreneur, hopefully some of these resonate for you. And if that's the case, then please feel free to share, like, or comment, and subscribe to this channel so you hear about other videos coming up. Thank you.